Well, good morning. I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about this YouTube channel and what it's all about. It's funny, I look back at my introduction YouTube. Here's my channel, here's what it's about, and it really makes me laugh because I can tell how scared I was when I started out. I'll tell you, I've been downloading videos to YouTube for about 2 years, but most of them I left in private. I was too afraid no one would watch them. I was afraid that my message wouldn't resonate with anyone, but I spent a lot of time watching other people's YouTube channels, trying to learn how to do it a little bit better. I'm never going to be a pro at it, and that's not my goal. My goal has always been just to have conversation that wasn't political, that wasn't religious, that really honed in on the things that affect women day in and day out. What are women talking about? What are we talking about with our friends when we go out to lunch or we run into them at the grocery store? You know, our life goes through seasons, and during those different seasons, we have time to develop friendships, to give, to build a friendship with another woman. And there are times when we just don't have the time. And those are the times that we need to talk about, because those are the times we're susceptible to making bad decisions about friendship. I make no bones about it. I wish I was one of those women who grew up in the same town or had friends since childhood. And for me, that's been very, very difficult. As a young child, we moved all the time. I left the state to go to college. And when I left the state where I went to high school and finally knew a few people, my mom and dad moved to Texas. So even going home for college vacations, I didn't know anyone. And the other problem for women that are a little older is that we didn't grow up with those easy social media ways to stay connected to our friends. It was long distance telephone calls, and I think I remember at one point it was like a minimum $5. And when you're making $11,000 a year out of college, oh yes, that's what we were getting paid back in the very early 80s, you didn't have $5 to maintain friendships. And yes, we wrote letters to each other, and I think back then a stamp cost 15 cents, but we were young. You met new people. Friendships friendships tend to be about who can I see quickly? Who can I get together with quickly? Who can I have some kind of a regular relationship with, right? Back and forth, whether it's texting, whether it's calling, whether it's getting together. So a lot of people of my age lost those valuable relationships. A lot of the women that are younger than me still have those dear childhood memories. But it doesn't matter. Even if you have good friends, I think what that does do is it gives you kind of a frame of reference. I didn't have that frame of reference, and I had to learn the hard way through my jobs, climbing the corporate ladder, joining my family business, getting into local politics, becoming involved with community service. I made mistakes along the way. And I feel like if I made those mistakes, there are a lot of other women that made those mistakes. And that isn't to say that we don't have dear, dear friends now that we love and we enjoy. I've got a group of women, I don't know what I would do without them, but I've also made some serious mistakes along the way. I've gotten involved with a few people mainly because of what my interests were. I met people who we had that interest in common, but when that ended and we kind of went our separate ways, we went in completely different directions. So I was hoping, or I am hoping, now that I've made all of my videos public, I am hoping to have a conversation with you about your relationships with other women, about my relationships with other women, and the good and the bad and the disappointing. And we're not women bashing, my gosh, far from that. because I feel like it's our responsibility to prepare the next generation of women, our daughters, women, young girls in our family, girls that we may have the opportunity to mentor in our jobs, women, young women that we hire to work for our companies, young women that we volunteer with. It's not just about setting an example. It's also about sharing our wins and our losses, those failures that we don't like to talk about. Why not share those with younger women so that they don't make the same mistakes that we made along the way? Or maybe they just look at situations a little bit differently because of our guidance. So I'm excited to have you on the channel. I call it Smart Women, Smart Conversations because we are smart. When we work together, we can get amazing things done. When we take the time to sit down and talk to each other, we can make a huge impact on each other's lives. Women have so much to give, but quite honestly, we don't do the best job of supporting each other. There is that childhood playground mentality that seems to follow us as we get older. Having more friends means we're more popular. Being in with certain people makes us popular. Being the person on the outside looking in makes us feel bad about ourselves. We all share that. And maybe you were the popular girl. I wasn't. I was always the wannabe. I was always like barely friends with someone who was barely in the popular group. And you know, it just becomes this whole girl thing as we grow up of wanting to be accepted, wanting to be included, wanting to be invited. So welcome to the channel. And I thought, I certainly hope you'll stop by periodically and check in on what the topics are. We'll talk about business. We'll talk about meeting new friends. We'll talk about mistakes made along the way. Everything that affects women day in and day out as our children get older and in many cases have already grown and flown the nest. So I look forward to getting to know you better. This will be a casual spot. Like I said, grab your cup of coffee or tea and let's just talk for a few minutes a couple times a week. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoy the channel and I'd really appreciate if you would subscribe. Take care.